The hour when the world's noise finally settles, and the strange things make themselves known. I'm Sterling Gray. You're listening to Strangely Odd. Pull up close. We've got a long night ahead of us. Tonight, friends, we go back to November 22nd, 1987. A Sunday night. Chicago. Already cold. The way Chicago gets in late November. That particular kind of cold that comes in off the lake and stays. Most of the city has settled in for the evening. Windows lit, television on. And at 9:14 p.m., something appeared on WGN TV. Not a scheduled program, not a technical error, something that came from outside. For 17 seconds, the sports segment vanished, and in its place, a figure, wearing a fiberglass mask, swaying, in front of a spinning panel of corrugated metal. The mask was unmistakable to anyone watching late-night TV in 1987. It was Max Headroom, or someone wearing his face. There was no voice, just a loud electrical buzz. WGN's engineers changed the frequency of their studio link. The signal snapped back. The sportscaster looked into the camera and said, "And I will always love him for this." Well, if you're wondering what's happened, so am I. 2 hours later, on WTTW, Chicago's PBS affiliate, the same figure appeared again, this time during a Doctor Who rebroadcast. This time, no engineer was on duty at the transmitter. And this time, the ghost had something to say. It lasted 90 seconds. Nobody knows who did it. Nobody has ever been charged. The FCC investigated. The statute of limitations ran out. And the figure in the mask just vanished back into the static. Tonight, we're joined by Chris Delacourt, broadcast historian and media archaeologist who has spent 15 years documenting pirate signal incidents across the United States. He calls the Max Headroom intrusion the single most technically ambitious act of broadcast piracy in American television history. We're going to get into what it actually took to pull this off, what was said during those 90 seconds, and the question that never quite goes away. Who was behind that mask, and what did they want us to hear? Right after this.
More Strangely Odd in just a moment. Don't touch that dial, Night Owls. Sterling Gray returns right after this.
This is Strangely Odd with Sterling Gray. It's after midnight somewhere. Truth is, it's always after midnight here. The world goes quiet, and the strange gets loud. Wherever you are tonight, friend, you are not alone out there. Stay with us. You know who I'm talking to. The night shift, the truck drivers, the dispatchers. The ones who watch the moon do its slow rotation while the rest of the world sleeps. Sleepless Nights coffee was made for you. And for me. Dark roast, fair trade, brewed by people who've worked third shift themselves. A bag a month, mailed direct to your door. Sleeplessnights.coffee. They keep me going. They'll keep you going too.
You're back among the night people. Sterling Gray. Strangely Odd. Right where the dial gets interesting.
And we're back. Strangely Odd, I'm Sterling Gray. Chris Delacourt is with us tonight, broadcast historian, 15 years studying pirate signal incidents across this country. Chris, thank you for being here.
Sterling, thanks for having me. This one, the Max Headroom incident. It's been my white whale. I've probably spent more hours on it than I care to admit publicly.
Then let's give it the time it deserves. Take me back to that night, November 22nd, 1987. WGN. Set the scene.
So it's the Sunday evening newscast. Dan Roan, the sportscaster. He's mid-segment, 9:14 p.m. And the feed just cuts. In its place, this figure appears, wearing a Max Headroom mask, full silver suit. And the figure is swaying, this kind of rhythmic side-to-side movement. in front of a spinning corrugated metal panel. The whole thing clearly meant to evoke the show's visual style. Very recognizable.
No audio, though.
No audio, just this loud electrical buzzing, static. The visual came through fine, but the audio chain wasn't working, or wasn't complete. And WGN's engineers reacted fast. They changed the frequency of their studio to transmitter link, and the signal snapped back inside 17 seconds. Roan looked at camera and said, well, if you're wondering what's happened, so am I. And that was the first intrusion. Most people assumed it was a one-time thing, a stunt, done.
But it wasn't done.
2 hours later, 11:20 p.m. WTTW, the PBS affiliate, is running a Doctor Who rebroadcast, Horror of Fang Rock. And the same figure comes back. Same mask, same corrugated metal, but this time, the audio works. And this time, there's nobody at the transmitter to pull the plug.
The transmitter for WTTW was at the Sears Tower.
Right. Way up on the Sears Tower. And on a Sunday night that late, there was no engineer on duty up there. The station staff at their facility couldn't do anything from where they were. They had to physically reach the tower. So the figure just kept going. 90 seconds. Which sounds short, but when you're watching it happen on your television at 11:30 at night, it's a very long time.
What was said during those 90 seconds?
Okay, so this is where it gets genuinely strange. Because it's not a manifesto. It's not a political speech. It's these rapid, almost associative fragments. The figure calls Chuck Swirsky, WGN's sportscaster, a frickin' liberal. It holds up a Pepsi can, which connects to this already weird thing where Max Headroom was the Pepsi mascot in America, but the British show had him pitching Coke, so there's a brand confusion built into the character. It mumbles what sounds like, "I still see the X." It hums the Clutch Cargo theme, this very strange, very specific 60s cartoon. It moans something about making a giant masterpiece for all the greatest world newspaper nerds, which is a WGN reference. The call letters stand for World's Greatest Newspaper. And then, toward the end, the figure bends over in a second person. Appears to be a woman. She's in a French maid costume. Spanks the figure with a fly swatter. And then the signal is gone. Doctor Who is back.
And Chicago's living rooms just sat with that for the rest of the night.
Yeah, the phones at both stations lit up. People thought it was real, thought it was some kind of technical takeover, thought it was performance art, thought it was a breakdown at the network. WMAQ's sports guys actually played clips of it and joked about it on air. A lot of people thought that was the pirate cutting in again. It was chaos, in a very contained, very Chicago way.
What strikes me every time I read about this is that the content is too specific to be random. The Swirsky jab, the WGN reference. This wasn't static noise.
That's the thing that separates this from every other signal intrusion I've documented. Most pirate events are about the act itself, proving you can seize the signal. This one had content, targeted content. Someone thought carefully about what they were going to say, and they chose absurdism with very specific targets. The Swirsky jab was personal. The WGN dig was personal. Even the Pepsi thing. There's a real argument it was commentary on how Max Headroom had been turned into an advertising vehicle.
Walk me through what it actually took, technically, to make this happen.
The method is called a capture effect attack. You're not hacking into computers. You're not breaking into a facility. What you do is transmit a microwave signal, a stronger one, to the station's broadcast tower than the station itself is transmitting. The tower locks onto the strongest signal it receives. If yours is stronger, it locks onto yours. Simple principle, extremely hard to execute. You need to be in the right location, downtown Chicago with clean line of sight to both the WGN tower and the WTTW tower on the Sears Tower. You need significant transmitting power. And you need the equipment to generate that kind of signal with that kind of directionality. This isn't a basement radio setup. This is someone with real technical knowledge, real resources, probably a vehicle, a van, or a truck, with broadcast-grade equipment in the back.
And they did it twice. 2 different towers. Same night.
Which means they moved. The 2-hour gap between WGN and WTTW is just enough time to reposition, find a new angle on the Sears Tower, set up again. The FCC narrowed it to a particular part of downtown for the probable transmission origin. But they never found the vehicle, never found the equipment. Whoever this was, they knew how to disappear.
What happened with the investigation?
FCC put out a statement. Maximum penalty at the time was a $100,000 fine and up to a year in prison. They ran an investigation. And then the 5-year statute of limitations expired. 1992. If someone walked in tomorrow and said, "I did it," there's no criminal exposure. The case is closed in the legal sense, which I think is something whoever did this probably understood going in.
They knew the clock.
They knew the clock. They waited it out. And now they're free to tell the story if they ever choose to. Whoever was in that mask would be in their 50s, 60s, maybe 70s today. Living an ordinary life, probably. Somebody in their life, a sibling, a college friend, a former roommate, maybe knows or suspects.
The theories. What's your best read on who did this?
2 main camps. One is the inside job theory, a disgruntled WGN employee with knowledge of their broadcast infrastructure. The Swirsky and WGN targeting lends some weight to that. The other, and this is the one I find more compelling, is Chicago's underground hacker community. 1987 was right before the internet. The pre-internet hacker scene was this subterranean world. Bulletin boards, phone phreaking, signal exploration. Chicago had a particularly active underground at that time. People with the technical knowledge, the ideology, and the nerve.
And what was the ideology? What does this act say about what whoever did it believed?
That's the question, right? Because in the hacker ethos of that era, signal access was a kind of freedom. The idea that broadcast spectrum is public, that the airwaves belong to everyone, not to the corporations paying for licenses. And here's this character, Max Headroom, who in the British show was actually a critique of television, a satirical AI newsman who exposed media manipulation. And he'd been turned into a Pepsi pitchman. So if you put that mask on and seize the signal, there's a certain circularity to it. You're using the face of a media critic to do an act of media criticism.
That's almost elegant.
It might be. Or it might be a very smart prank by someone who loved Clutch Cargo and had a grudge against Chuck Swirsky. Both things can be true. That's the maddening part. The act contains enough coherence to be art and enough chaos to be a stunt. We don't know which one it was because we don't know who did it.
Is this something that could happen today?
No, not to a broadcast tower. When American television went digital in 2009, the capture effect attack became essentially impossible for over-the-air broadcasts. Digital signals don't lock onto the strongest sender the same way. You'd have to crack encryption, spoof identifiers. A completely different problem and vastly harder. So this specific thing, this analog signal intrusion on a broadcast tower in a major market, that window closed. What happened in 1987 couldn't happen in 2009.
There's something about that I find, I don't know, strangely mournful. That there's a category of vulnerability that no longer exists.
I know exactly what you mean. And maybe that's part of why it resonates so deeply. It's an artifact from a moment when the broadcast signal, this thing we all trusted sitting in every living room, could be taken, worn like a costume. The signal itself becomes the mask. And whatever is under that mask speaks directly to millions through their own televisions. There's something genuinely uncanny about that. I've been writing about it for 15 years and I still feel it.
Do you think we'll ever know who was in that mask?
I do, honestly. The statute is gone. There's no prosecution risk. People get old. People want to tell their stories. Someone knows. Could be the person themselves. Could be someone who helped with the equipment that night. Could be a family member who found old footage in a closet and put it together. My instinct is that when this story finally breaks, and I think it does break eventually, the person who tells it is going to turn out to be both completely ordinary and completely fascinating.
One last thing. What's the detail that still keeps you up?
The Clutch Cargo theme. I've turned that over for 15 years. Everything else in those 90 seconds I can build a theory around. The clutch cargo hum is just floating there, unmoored. It feels personal, like it meant something very specific to someone, and we just don't have the context to know what. It's the fragment that resists every framework, and somehow it's the one I keep coming back to.
And maybe that's how they planned it.
Maybe so, Sterling. Maybe so.
Chris Delacourt, broadcast historian, 15 years chasing this ghost. My friends, in a moment we open the lines. Maybe someone listening was there in 1987 and still carries a piece of this. Maybe someone knows more than they've said. The lines are open, right after this.
Don't go wandering off into the dark just yet. Strangely Odd, with Sterling Gray, returns in just a moment. Stay with us.
For those of us who do our living after dark, the sun is the enemy. Raven blackout curtains. Heavy, light-killing drapes that turn high noon into midnight. Sleep like the dead no matter what the clock says. Made for night shift workers, day sleepers, and night owls like you. Raven blackout curtains. Get your dark at ravenblackout.com. Tell them Strangely Odd sent you. You're listening to Strangely Odd. If you've got a story, something you saw, something you can't explain, something that's been sitting with you for years, the lines are always open. We don't laugh here, we listen. Call in, tell me. You're among friends now.
You're listening to Sterling Gray on Strangely Odd. Sit tight, night owls. You're right where you need to be.
And we're back. Open lines tonight. The number is on your screen. We're talking about the Max Headroom incident, November 22nd, 1987. If you saw it, if you have a theory, if you've been sitting on something, now's the time. Chris Delacourt is still with us. First call, Beverly from Naperville. Beverly, go ahead.
Sterling, hi. Thank you for taking my call. I was 14 in 1987 and I watched it happen on our TV. And I've never quite gotten over it, I think is the honest answer.
Tell me what you remember.
We were watching the news as a family. My dad, my mom, me. And the sportscaster just disappeared. And this thing came on. And I remember, I looked at my dad because I thought he was going to change the channel or turn it off. And he didn't. He just sat there, with his mouth a little open. We all did. For whatever that was, 15, 17 seconds, none of us moved. And when the news came back, my dad said, "Did that just happen?" And none of us had an answer. We sat with it all night.
That image of your father with his mouth open, Beverly, that tells me everything. Thank you for calling. Beverly from Naperville. Next, Ron from Indianapolis. Ron, you're on.
Yeah, Sterling. So I was a licensed ham radio operator back then. Still am. And I want to say something about the technical side that I don't hear enough people say, which is what these people did required real knowledge, not book knowledge, hands-on knowledge. You have to understand propagation. You have to understand signal strength and directional transmission. You have to know what you're looking for in terms of tower location and line of sight. And you had to have done this before, is my feeling. You don't attempt a stunt like this without having tested the equipment. Somewhere. Somehow.
You think there were test runs?
Has to be. You don't... Look, I've worked with high-power microwave gear. You don't just point it at a tower and hit go and hope for the best. You'd need to know your signal strength. You'd need to verify your aim. You'd need to know the switching latency on the receiving side. There were practice runs, maybe in a smaller market, maybe with a lower power setup first. And that means there might be records somewhere that nobody's connected to this case yet.
Ron, that's actually something I've spent time on. And I think you're right. There are some anomalous interference reports from Chicago area stations in the weeks before November 22nd that have never been formally attributed to anything. Small scale, short duration. Could be coincidence. Could be rehearsals.
Chilling. Ron, thank you. Ron from Indianapolis. Next on the line, Jerry from Wisconsin. Jerry, go ahead.
Sterling, love the show. So this is maybe a small thing, but it's been on my mind. The clutch cargo reference, the humming. Your guest mentioned it as the thing he can't explain, and I grew up watching Clutch Cargo. It was a 60s cartoon, real low budget. They'd just put animated mouths over real people's lips. Very eerie show if you watch it as an adult. And I've always wondered if that's the point. If the person in the mask was specifically invoking Clutch Cargo because of the uncanny valley thing, the real mouth in the artificial face. Because that's also what Max Headroom was, a real human performance behind a synthetic mask.
Oh, Jerry, that's genuinely interesting. The real mouth behind the artificial face. Chris?
Yeah. I hadn't put it together quite that precisely. Clutch Cargo used real moving lips superimposed on drawn faces. Max Headroom is a human face processed to look digital. The figure in the mask is a human being hiding behind that. 3 layers of the real inside the fake. Jerry, you may have just given me a framework I've been looking for a decade.
Jerry from Wisconsin. Brilliant call. Friends, one more. No name on the board for this one. No name on the board. Caller, go ahead.
Are we scrambled? Tell me we're scrambled right now.
Running you through the scrambler right now, friend. You're disguised.
Good. Don't use my name. I don't have a name anymore anyway.
What's on your mind tonight?
I'll tell you what's not on my mind. What's on the street. Your guest tonight. Broadcast piracy. Signal intrusions. I've been listening. And I'll say this. Whoever did that 1987 thing, they used a fraction of the power available to certain parties. A fraction.
What parties would those be?
That's not what I'm calling about, Sterling. That's a different call. What I'm calling about is frequency allocation 772.4 megahertz. There's a block of spectrum in that band, licensed to a shell entity out of McLean, Virginia. Goes nowhere, receives everything, has for 32 years.
What is it receiving?
Local broadcasts, all of them, in 17 cities, continuously, not recording the content, recording the metadata. Who's on the air, when, for how long, building a picture of normal, a baseline of what normal broadcast looks like so you can see when something deviates from it.
A tripwire for pirate signals.
Or for whatever else might show up in the spectrum that wasn't invited. I can't stay on long. I've said too much already.
You always say that.
And I always call back. Watch the 700, Sterling. It's not quiet up there.
Friends, that was our mystery caller. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, tonight's Numbers Station Puzzler. Stay with us. Here in the static, friends, tonight's Numbers Station Puzzler returns. A message has been broadcast, and only you can crack it. It is our standing ritual in the strange hours, and those who found the key before know exactly what to do. Just like tonight's uninvited signal, a code is hiding inside another transmission, right now, in this very room. A key is woven into the words I'm speaking, embedded in plain sight for the sharp-eared listener. Crack the key and you crack the cipher. That's all I'll say. Keep your pencil ready, night owls. Here comes the broadcast.
Attention! Attention! Begin message. 14162 41922 19210 21705 21191 42210 12. Message ends. Message ends.
There she is. Found the key? Cracked the cipher? Email your answer and the episode number, episode 57, to doublesecretlabs@gmail.com. Get it right, and you go in the hat. And one of these nights, your phone might ring with a number that reaches this very studio. Crack the signal, friends. We'll be right back.
Hold that thought. And hold the line. Strangely Odd with Sterling Gray. We'll be right back.
Tonight's broadcast, like every broadcast, is brought to you by Double Secret Labs. Double Secret Labs. Their slogan? We do science, so you don't have to. Now, what kind of science exactly? That's a fair question, friends. I've asked. They don't say. And I'm not sure anyone outside that building could tell you what goes on inside it. But the check's clear, the lights stay on. So do yourself a favor, friends. Like and subscribe to Double Secret Labs. And find the show itself, Strangely Odd, on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Take us into the dark with you. Double Secret Labs. We do science, so you don't have to. Well, that's the end of our broadcast. Thank you for spending these strange hours with me. The world is a stranger place when you don't have to face it alone. Take care of yourselves out there. Sleep when you can, and keep your eyes open when you can't. I'm Sterling Gray. From all of us at Strangely Odd, until we meet again. Good night, Night Owls.